Okay, everybody, welcome to the Asheville City Council meeting. This the day of January 9th. Happy New Year, our first meeting in 2024. If you could just take a moment to silence your cell phones. Also, if you'd like to sign up to speak tonight, there is a desk out in the hall where someone will be glad to sign you up and your name will appear on our list, so we will know to call on you. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Getting turned around in these chairs is harder than it looks, right, Sandra? We do not have any proclamations on our agenda this evening. Do you have any questions, comments, or a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Kim, so moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda, and we don't have anyone signed up to speak under this item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I just think we just set a record for passing the consent agenda. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting that Sage Turner will not be present with us tonight, so we didn't start without her. She's not able to be here tonight. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the manager for the manager's report. We have very exciting manager's reports. Not that they're not all exciting, Deborah. They're always exciting, but they're especially exciting tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Now, good evening, everyone, Mayor and Council. And as she said, Happy New Year. And that's my new friend back there. No, really, we are friends. What I would like to do to start off the report, I know on the agenda it probably says introduction of Michael Case, our new Asheville Fire Department Chief. However, I would like for Chris Bazinski and Kelly Cloak to just come up and give us an update on weather and our emergency preparedness measures, and I will turn it over to Chris and Kelly. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So this will be quick. We just wanted to give you a quick update on the past 2 days and what we've been doing in preparation for today. And luckily it's beautiful out now, but it hasn't been, as you well know. So yesterday we executed our new emergency operations plan, and we ran a complexity analysis based on the forecast that we were getting and what we thought could occur if the forecasts all came true in worst case scenarios. So that led us to, the complexity analysis led us to activate our strategic leadership group. So we had a meeting yesterday afternoon of that group, and we discussed what the threats were, what the risks were, what we were doing to get ahead of that, how we were going to communicate, and set a plan and a cadence for how we were going to move forward. This morning, we apprised the situation where we were at and had another meeting this afternoon, midday today, with the information we had and what we lived throughout the time frame. And we were collaborating with the county also throughout this entire time, starting yesterday, midday yesterday through just a few minutes ago, making sure that we're on the same page with Buncombe County and they're on the same page with us. So we're working as a cohesive governmental unit. So with that, I want to ask Ms. Cloak, our Public Information Officer, to discuss how we communicated with our community during this event.
Hello. Actually, our communication started as early as last week because we thought we were getting some snow and ice accumulation, so we were very proactive. That's CAPE, Asheville Fire and Asheville Police. We all coordinated, got together, discussed how we would share on all our platforms. That there was not much incident over the weekend as far as that type weather, so we just continued with the next stage of the weather, inclement weather we were receiving, and so we were able to again take advantage of all of our platforms and push information out on City of Asheville's Facebook and Twitter, X, and then also we Asheville Fire posted our own information, and just all of us shared each other's information, and I think it worked wonderfully. We would coordinate together on some press releases and some media alerts. I was able to get in front of the camera today and share with our community what the city of Asheville has been doing proactively and what we were doing currently and how we are prepared for any incident that we might encounter. We also are working very closely with the departments to communicate to neighborhoods that have been distinguished vulnerable through the climate justice map, and trying to communicate with them on a more regular basis. For instance, today in the Shiloh neighborhood, we were able to reach out and say, hey, these couple of streets are actually closed in your neighborhood. So that's something that we hope to continue, and again, just trying to be as proactive as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you. So now I want to move to something that's near and dear to me, which is employees who are joining our organization. I have a number that I want to introduce to you all. The city manager's office is excited to introduce and welcome, as I said, new staff members and some that just have new titles. Our fire chief, Mike Case, joins the Asheville Fire Department, and I'm going to do a more detailed introduction of him just shortly. We have a new director of equity and inclusion, Salam Manaya Merritt, and a new interim transportation director, Jessica Morris, and a new interim chief of police, Mike Lamb. Next slide, please. And so first up is Mr. Mike Case. He started on January the 2nd, just last week, and he began his journey in Cincinnati, and he has over 34 years of public service. He has a bachelor's degree in safety engineering and an associate of applied science in fire science technology, and he also has a master's degree in public administration. And he's also earned a number of fire-related certifications and numerous awards and publishing many articles in professional journals. I'd also like to mention that Mike has a number of fans who have come to join him and celebrate this day. We would like, let's see, he has a son, daughter-in-law, this is my test, niece, brother-in-law, sister, friend, former colleague, and our little one is out. But I definitely want to welcome Mike to this city of Asheville and our organization. We are looking forward to some big things out of you, and just thank you for choosing Asheville. And yep, thank you so much. Next up is, I wanted to just take a moment to thank Interim Fire Chief Chris Brzezinski for stepping into this role, for his invaluable support and leadership during the transition. So thank you, Chief, very much. Next up is Equity and Inclusion Director Salam Manaya Merritt. And Salah, I'm going to get that middle name or name right sooner or later. Salah is joining us kind of in the transition because she is taking the place of Brenda Mills, who doesn't retire, Brenda, until January 31st. But what we are trying to do and do better actually is to see if we can have as much of a seamless transition between our leaders, because these are extremely important positions. But Salah just joined us yesterday, officially. She's been working with us with the Reparations Commission for almost 2 years now. And Salah has 25 years of professional experience in government, ranging from city, county, and state agencies. You see the number of communities that she has worked in, and we want to welcome Salah. Thank you very much again for for choosing Asheville. Next is our interim transportation director, Jessica Morris. And Jessica started serving in this role. She was serving as an assistant transportation director and started on January the 1st. And she has nearly 20 years of experience in transportation planning, engineering, and operations. She has a lot of degrees. She has 3 master's degrees. And so thank you, Jessica, for agreeing to serve in this interim role. Next slide, please. Next is our interim chief of police, Mike Lamb. Mike was named in this position on December the 18th, 2024, excuse me. Mike likes to say when he introduced himself, I'm a unicorn, because he is a native Ashevillean and has a long history of working in the Asheville Police Department with over 25 years of experience. Mike also has a number of degrees, mostly in terms of Bachelor's of Arts in Criminal Justice from Western Carolina University, and a graduate of A.C. Reynolds High School. He's also a graduate of the Police Executive Research Forum, Senior Management Institute for Police. So thanks, Mike, for agreeing to serve in this interim role. And if you would give me a little bit more liberty, I'd like to mention just a few other staff changes and promotions. Chris Cairns, because I want to call him Carnes. When Ken Putnam retired, it left a very key position and a role in the city as our traffic engineer. Chris has been named and has agreed to fill the important position of our city traffic engineer as of last week. So thank you, Chris. Jeremy Knighton isn't here. He is teaching a class in Minnesota. Pray for him, because it's really cold and I think a lot of snow. So he is our emergency preparedness expert, and he was recently named as an assistant fire chief. And I'd also like to formally acknowledge Stephanie Munson-Dahl, who was named director of our Planning and Urban Design Department, actually in August of last year. So Mayor and Council, thanks for your patience and for allowing me to use this venue to recognize and acknowledge the work of our employees. We believe the impact in terms of the changes that have been made in with the number of our personnel either retiring or resigning or whatever have been both minimal and seamless. So thanks again, and if you give me one more liberty, if you could actually allow them to come up to the podium. And
Yeah, I was going to say, that would be good, so that
that would be great.
all the thousands of people watching on TV can't
Kids
see your
can
faces
experience
until you
this.
step up here.
And so, Mr. Case, Salah, all of you, Chris, you can come up. Mike.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Also,
Which
Dan
way
wants
you
to
gonna
take
go?
your picture, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna take your picture.
I was gonna say, do you want to get right here?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right, thank you. So that concludes the manager's report.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
And there goes our.
Yeah, we'll just take a minute, let people reshuffle. Yeah. We have somewhat of a short agenda tonight. We have one public hearing item. And I assume that the planner that's trying to do this item is fighting their way upstream somewhere. This is a public hearing to consider an amendment to the conditional zoning of 141 and 147 South Bear Creek Road to make changes to the project conditions to remove a restriction prohibiting drive-through facilities. I dragged it out long enough, you could get
Thank
in
you.
here. All right.
Good evening.
All right, Will, take it away.
Thank you. Mayor, members of council, good evening. Will Palmquist, Planning and Urban Design. I'll be presenting this conditional zoning amendment petition for the property known as 141 and 147 South Bear Creek Road. So as the title suggests, this is an amendment to an existing conditional zoning. You may remember it from October 9, 2018, where a conditional zoning for a new hotel was approved at this location here, highlighted in red, which is right on Brevard Road off of the I-40 exit at that location. Here you can see some aerial imagery. The hotel is complete and it's been open for a little while now. And I'll just take this opportunity to kind of give a little bit of background of the machinations that have gotten us here this evening. So either before or at the public hearing for this hotel, it was suggested and agreed to by the applicant that while they were planning to basically subdivide this out parcel of the property to the north of the hotel, which is about 1 of the 3 acres, they would agree that while it would be reviewed in the future under the existing highway business zoning district, that that future property or business would not have a drive-through facility. So that was included in the project conditions that got adopted. And over time, the applicant is now requesting that that restriction be removed, and then a future development go forward with a drive-through potentially. So it was reviewed briefly by Planning and Zoning Commission about 2 years ago, where they recommended denial of that amendment. A lot of that was due to the fact that there was no site plan or any kind of drawing indicating how the drive-through would work, and there's a lot of uncertainty about how the site would be planned. So they've come back with a site plan. We'll get into it a little bit more in this presentation here. So as you can see from that conditional zoning a few years ago, the lodging expansion conditional zone is where the hotel is located, and then the out parcel portion of the property is zoned highway business conditional zone. Future land use is urban corridor, no change to that would be required. So this is the site plan that the applicant is proposing as part of this amendment to the conditional zoning. You can see the existing hotel building at the southern portion of the site, the parking lot area around the building, and then in the darker colors is where the commercial use would be proposed. So you can see the driveway located off of the existing driveway to the hotel, which is located off of South Bear Creek Road. The parking around the new building. The new building itself would be about 6,000 square feet. 48 parking spaces are proposed. You can see the drive-through facility kind of wrapping around the building there. So this site plan would be, if adopted tonight, have to be adhered to as the project moves forward when they submit their official plans. So I'll highlight some pedestrian connectivity aspects of the project. You can see here highlighted in green are the existing sidewalks that were built as part of the hotel project. So a new sidewalk along Brevard Road and South Bear Creek Road was constructed, sidewalk leading to the hotel, and then sidewalks around the hotel building. As part of the applicant's request and consideration, the site plan identifies sidewalks that would connect the new future commercial building to Brevard Road, as you can see here, located on the eastern side of the site, and then also through the parking lot to the existing hotel building. Other considerations include the installation of a high visibility crosswalk at South Bear Creek Road where the driveway cuts in for the existing hotel use to help with pedestrian safety through this area as well. So essentially, the project conditions would be amended relatively minimally. So you can see here the condition regarding the future use of the lot, which is from the existing conditional zoning adopted a few years ago. And the amendment would basically strike the clause that no drive-through would be permitted on that out parcel lot. As mentioned earlier, some additional conditions regarding the development of that out parcel would be added, including that the access would be off the existing driveway, new minimum 5 feet wide sidewalks would connect to Brevard Road, and then also to the hotel building, and that the crosswalk of the building's project's entrance on South Bear Creek Road would be improved to a high visibility crosswalk. Finally, the applicants agreed to a condition that the project will make best efforts to minimize potential conflicts between the drive-through aisles and the queue and with pedestrians as well. That's kind of as their design moves forward. It's relatively conceptual at this stage. The project was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval with those conditions added. So staff finds that the proposal is, as we were describing it, partially consistent with the future land use map, essentially acknowledging that the urban corridor emphasizes a refocusing, twice actually in this line, of their development and land use patterns to be more multimodal with better transit access, and also making it safer for pedestrians along that way. So I think the partially consistent recommendation is, I think, accurate, since the perhaps a drive-through facility isn't the grand vision of what the Brevard Road corridor could be one day, but the project does, I think, guarantee enough safeguards to make it a safer, enhanced pedestrian experience throughout that area. The project also supports a couple of goals in the plan, including to provide infill development in targeted growth areas and to establish accessible and well-connected commercial nodes. And for that reason, staff concurs with the Planning and Zoning Commission and recommends approval of this proposed conditional zoning amendment. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. We also have the developer here this evening.
I have a question. So this came to council before my time, although I went back and looked at some of the conversation from before. So my sense, and this is a like, am I getting this right? And then a question is that part of the why behind this contingency on the initial zoning was that there was a desire for just safety and walkability for the pedestrian.
Mm-hmm.
The current proposal has additional sidewalks. So I'm seeing nodding, so yes, I kind of picked up the gist of the past.
Yep.
My question is, I don't know if you'll have all this, but in the context of our plans for greenways and bike lanes and multimodal strategy, and we look at the actual map, this is a sliver of land basically in between 240 and 40. How does this section fall into our bigger plans around transportation? Like how, I guess part of me is wondering, like, it's hard for me, I don't understand why this was a condition in the first place. I understand it's important to have walkability, but to restrict a type of business, I'm just trying to piece out the why from the past. And that maybe I'd look to my councilwomen on this more than you might not have the answers to that. But if it's like a strategic parcel for an impending greenway or something, then like, okay, that could answer, but my knowledge of our transportation plans doesn't dock into that
I was trying to
either.
remember, was it so a lot was happening back then. the Brevard Road project hadn't happened yet. DOT hadn't done that widening and put in the sidewalks and things like that. And I can't remember if it was a staff requested restriction because things were in flux. I don't remember exactly.
That might have been where it originated. I don't know the exact origination or all the thinking behind the condition. I do know that Brevard Road is on the county's greenway plan for potential greenway along that section of road, and that's why in the original conditional zoning there is a condition that the project would provide an easement to the county if so requested to prior to the CO of the hotel, and that hadn't happened, although the county is in the process of updating their greenway plan, and it probably will still include Brevard Road as a major greenway connection, so that's still on the table. So I don't know if that was a consideration that was going on at the time, and that was kind of part of it as well. Obviously Brevard Road is a major transportation corridor. I don't know if this parcel is strategic more so than any other necessarily. But yeah, hope that helps a little bit.
For me, I think one of the concerns when I was in the audience when this happened was the future of how we move as a city in general. And I have some of those same concerns. Are drive-throughs the best for our tax base, for safety, for traffic concerns, for the way that everyone, including people driving cars, move at this intersection? And so that's why, among the reasons why I won't be supporting it tonight, is because I'm not sure that this type of land use is in the best interest.
How does that square up, though? Are we allowed to say we don't like this type of business design?
I'm just
Brad
reading the
looks like he's-
suggested motion to approve.
The best way I can probably answer this question for the council is to say that your authority lies in deciding both the consistency and the reasonableness of a land use, not a land activity. So let me further define that. A land use would be a general characterization like residential, commercial, whereby a specific land use might distinguish between a condo as an ownership of residential or apartments. The council generally does not have the authority to dive down into land-specific activities, whether or not someone's renting or owning property. All residential property would be treated the same. But you are in conditional zoning situations such as this, allowed to look at the specific plan and determine what, if any, impacts it might have that are or are not reasonable in terms of how they affect the surrounding area and the community at large. So it would be beyond your authority to say a specific business or business type, but a specific design of a business, whether it be inclusive of a drive-through or have a tremendous amount of parking, that I think is within the purview of a land use in the context of a conditional zoning with a specific site plan.
Great, thanks.
Other questions?
So I move to deny the conditional zoning amendment request for the property located at 511 Brevard Road, zoned lodging expansion?
So we have to open the public hearing.
Right, okay, well,
Okay.
we can do that first or second.
Let me just open the public hearing. We only have one person signed up to speak, and that is Claudia Nix, who is a seasoned speaker at City Council. You'll know to watch the lights on the lectern, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I am presently the chair of the our new active community, active transportation committee. And my feeling, my opinion, is that this prohibition should continue. I don't feel that it is going to be in the best respect for active transportation to allow drive-through through here. Typically, drive-through restaurants have long trails of cars waiting and spewing their emissions, which is not appropriate for people who are walking and biking. This area is planned to be a major corridor to connect our recreational area in Bent Creek, the farmers market, and the Asheville Greenway system, which presently stops at the Hominy Creek Park. With the new I-26 improvements, there will be the Greenway continuing out to Brevard Road. And with the improvements that already have been made over the bridge on Brevard Road over I-26, there are bike lanes and sidewalks. This present area does not have sidewalks on Brevard Road. And they need to be, and they probably will be coming. So I think it's very important that we think about the future and the conditions that we're going to be putting people in as they travel using active transportation through this area, and perhaps bringing their children as well through this area. And we need to make sure that we're not compromising people's health going through here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let me just make sure. We don't have anyone else signed up to speak under this, so I will close the public hearing.
As applicant, may we address a couple of those comments?
Sure, yes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, staff. My name is Derek Allen. I represent the applicant here, Century Development Partners. Jesse Carter is here representing the developer on this particular parcel that they have under contract. They were not the hotel developer. They do have it under contract. And I did want to answer and put some context on the question from 2018 that Councilwoman Ullman brought up, and that was, why did this get brought in? And those comments that we made back then were still applicable now, in that this is on I-40. It's in between I-40 and I-240. If you look at these photos here, you can see it's actually kind of tucked into the clover leaf of the exit system for a major interstate. I was out there this past week dropping a car off at 6 lanes from this particular piece all the way back up to where Brevard crosses again. It's very much a vehicle corridor. At the time when that prohibition was entered, you'll see the way it's placed in the conditions. It wasn't in the initial conditions. When it went through in 2018 to planning and zoning, it passed 6-1 without the condition that prohibited drive-throughs. It came to City Council, and this was the last zoning project that involved hotels that went through right before the moratorium. The moratorium was coming down the pipe. There were these particular projects that were in contract, under contract, and ready to go. And at the time, there was a push for conditions from staff folks that just got added in. You can see where this was added in. It made no sense to me then. It makes no sense to me now, particularly as it's developed here, and particularly in light of the fact that we're on the backside of a pandemic, and folks simply want to go through a drive-through to pick up a cup of coffee. They don't want to get out. They don't want that human interaction, specifically when they are on an interstate like I-40. The project has not been able to be sold. The parcel has not been able to be sold with this prohibition on it. And that's specifically why we're here. That's it. Everything else stays in place. The conditions related to funds given to the Housing Trust Fund are in place. The conditions related to lining it up with whoever the county may or may not be doing are still in place, and they will remain in place. We think that this condition was not well thought out at the time that it was originally added in, and it makes even less sense now. Thank you.
Any questions?
I just want to ask, is this talking about one? Okay. So with this particular request, it's just for one drive-through, right?
Yes.
So it's not multiple drive-throughs, it's not?
No, and it's tied specifically to this site plan layout. And this site plan layout is now the result of staff requested conditions, which we added all of those in, as well as conditions that were suggested as part of the approval from planning and zoning, which was a unanimous approval, provided that we add the conditions in, and we've added in all the conditions that they suggested as well.
Okay, and as far as I'm concerned, that is an area that I live in, and I travel that road every day, and like you said, it's a sort of area that it needs to be activated, where it sits there sort of just by itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It does. And so therefore, I will say that I will be supporting this conditional zoning, so, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we don't have anyone else signed up to speak. If there aren't any other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, can you officially close the public hearing?
I'm sorry, I'm officially closing the public hearing.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the conditional zoning amendment request for the property located at 511 Brevard Road, zone lodging expansion, conditional zoning, and highway business, and conditional zone highway business for the modifications to the site plan and the project conditions, and find that the request is reasonable, is in the public interest, is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and meets the development needs of the community in that request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. That concludes our public hearings agenda tonight. Thanks. We have no items under unfinished business, and we're going to turn to new business, which is the topic of our boards and commissions. And then before I turn it over to the vice mayor, I just wanted to note that the appointment of the Metropolitan Sewage District had a lot of interest, and we're going to move that one to, I would suggest we move it to the February meeting when Sage is able to join us again, because she won't be able to be at our second meeting in January either. And I did want it just to, I was talking with Sarah, who helps manage our boards and commissions, and just to clarify the appointment act, because I think there was some confusion because she was soliciting council members as to whether or not they were interested in this position. It is not specifically designated for a council member. A council member can certainly serve in it, but it's similar to any other boards and commissions vacancy. So that was a little bit confusing, and I think she did that because there had been a council member who already had expressed interest in it, so she wanted to, of course, be fair for everyone, which is what we would expect, no less. So we'll move that one to unless anybody feels passionately otherwise, if we could move it to the first meeting in February, that'd be all right? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Sandra,
Okay.
our vice mayor for boards and commissions.
Okay, well, Boards and Commission met earlier today, and we reviewed 28 possible appointments. 6 were due to resignations, and 3 were eligible for a reappointment, but were not interested. I'm sorry. The first committee would be the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. There is 1 vacancy, and the Boards and Commissions recommend the appointment of Alvarez Abernathy. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. The next board will be the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, and the Boards and Commissions recommend the reappointment of Robin Cape. Is there a second?
This is Kim, second. And I'll also add that as a liaison to the ABC, I can speak to Robin's experience, her statewide leadership, and her positive relationships with the board, the staff, and the public, which engages regularly at our ABC meetings.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. The Board of Adjustments, we're looking to fill 4 vacancies, 2 regular seats and 2 alternates. The Board and Commissions Committee recommend the reappointment of Susan Gosley and the appointment of John Michael Cledis to the regular seat, and the reappointment of Annette Wise and appointment of Julian Ballard as alternates. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. The Design Review Committee, there were 3 vacancies, 1 for a Downtown Commission seat and 2 at-large seats. Since there's no applications received for the Downtown Commission members, the Board and Commissions Committee recommends moving Ricardo Sejo, who serves on the Downtown Commission, from his current at-large seat to the vacant downtown seat, and then moving Stephen Lee Johnson to the at-large seat vacated by Mr. Sergio. In addition, we recommend the reappointment of Brian Moffitt to the downtown seat and Michael McDowell to the at-large seat. And can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor, just for clarity, were we voting now on the Downtown Commission appointments or the Design Review Committee appointments?
That was a divine review.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
not at all. That's
Okay,
fine.
I'm sorry
Thank
about
you.
that. Okay, now okay. In addition, we recommend, so we're going to do that separately? Okay, all together, okay, okay.
So we're the Downtown Commission?
Yeah, the Downtown Commission, the boards and committee recommends the reappointment of Noor Edwards and the appointments of Stu Helm and Michael Cooney,
It would be Bill Cooney? Bill Cooney?
Billy Cooney, yeah, Billy Cooney. Can I get a second?
Second?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I noticed that Hayden Plemons was also an applicant, and she's serving as the new head of our downtown association. I was just wondering if there's any consideration of her as a candidate. I think that, you know, Megan Rogers had served on this committee for a really long time. She's now in a different role. I feel like that's a pretty critical partner to our work. I might suggest her as opposed to Nur Edwards.
I'd second that.
It was never discussed today.
Okay.
Well, we could break apart the motion. Who were the other two you had?
We have
Billy, Cooney, and
Stu Helm.
Stu helps.
Stu.
Well, I believe in the meeting, though, we felt really strongly in support of Noor, given the
Yeah.
fact that she's a storefront owner, and the seat that she initially took was specifically for that purpose.
Is it restricted to that? No, it's, okay, wasn't sure. I would do,
So
I
no, we did also talk about that Nur is no longer living in the city limits, but brings
Bringing
the
her back.
experience
Yeah.
of a business owner to our downtown commission. So there's, you know, we don't have to prioritize folks living outside the city limits, but it was the recommendation of the committee.
the only thing I would suggest is
We also, I'll note that Billy Cooney brings experience, a vast experience with land use planning and data analysis that seems a wealth of information we need on our downtown commission,
Agreed.
especially because our downtown commission has sub-appointments across committees.
and what was the thinking with Stu Helm?
Well, Stu Helm, I would say, works with our local restaurants,
Yes.
communities, works in the tourism industry and with locals. I think he knows our downtown inside and out.
And a downtown business owner.
Is Stu a downtown business owner?
Yeah, I mean,
Technically,
that's where
yes.
his business functions, yeah.
Tricky, because I was just meeting with Hayden today, and I know they're gonna be working hard around efforts around the bid and partnering with the city on other down efforts, and does seem like a little bit of a almost hostile thing to do, not to put the Downtown Association Executive Director on this commission if historically they've served in that.
Another way to look at it is that because they will already be working on downtown issues, they can work with the downtown commission instead of having a potential conflict of interest of being on it.
Well, I don't know that it's a conflict of interest. I mean, no more than owning a business in downtown.
If we're gonna break it up, I would suggest the conversation about the reappointment could be handled first.
And Nur was the reappointment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because then we would have different openings if the reappointment were to fail.
The other two were,
New appointments.
And Mayor, the recommendation will also be the downtown commission.
Which one was, Noor was?
all
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh, I wish Sage was here. Gotta give us a little insight on this one, but.
Yeah,
she's-
since she's the liaison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she would have some thoughts about it.
Mayor,
Do you-
we could appoint the two and then postpone the reappointment one till 2/14, if you want to wait for Councilwoman Turner.
And then Nur would still stay in that
It's still-
seat because.
Yeah, that would be fine.
appointment
That's a good
hasn't happened.
suggestion. I mean, the two sound great.
So what you'll do is recommend
The appointment of
Noor
Billy,
Noor Edwards.
no, recommend the appointment of Stu Helms and Billy Cooney, and we wait on Nora's reappointment.
So then NER would stay in her seat until
Until next
reappointment.
month.
Or
We
the
can wait
opening.
till Sage comes back.
So I would move to appoint Stu Helms and Billy Cooney to the Downtown Commission.
Okay,
Got a second?
can I get a second?
Second?
Okay, wait a bit.
Maggie.
And we need a motion to withdraw.
Wait, we got to vote on that one.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
And now you need a motion to withdraw the first.
No, we're just
No,
continuing
we're just continuing
NERS. We're going to continue consideration of NERS reappointment to the next meeting.
Okay, I thought there was a motion and second to do NER at the very beginning.
There was. Vice Mayor, if you could just, as the maker of the motion, if you could just withdraw the initial motion, which you now voted on as replacement, then we'll have the record clean.
Okay, okay. So what I'll do is withdraw the original motion for Downtown Commission,
She's got
for
it.
the boards and committee.
You don't need to say anymore.
Okay.
She's got it. She
Okay.
just Maggie's crossed her T's, dotted her I's.
Okay. The next appointments were the Human Relations Commission, and the Boards and Commission Committee recommends the appointment of Andy Babowski. Can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next board will be the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, and the clerk's office did not receive any applications for the 28801 zip code, and so that vacancy will be re-advertised. The Noise Advisory Board, the clerk's office did not receive any applications for the restaurant industry. Vacancy will be re-advertised. Both the Noise Advisory Board and the Neighborhood Advisory Committee seats have been open for several months. So now I encourage anyone to reach out who has someone or know someone that may qualify for these positions. And the Public Arts and Cultural Commission, there are 2 vacancies, and the Board and Commissions Committee recommends the appointment of Alexandria Monique Revenal and Rachel Hanson.
Second?
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
I would just note that's a, oh, I see, okay. We have,
Okay.
I see what's happening.
And the Reparations Commission, there is 1 vacancy, and the Board and Commissions Committee recommends the appointment of a current alternate, Osundu McPeters. Can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. The Sustainability Advisory Committee, the Boards and Commission Committee recommends the reappointment of Tim Orman and Steve Barron. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? Motion passes. And last but not least is the Urban Forestry Commission. There are 3 vacancies, and the Boards and Commission Committee recommends the reappointment of Karen McNeil and the appointment of John Michael Henson and Patricia Grace. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay,
Did I miss hearing the riverfront?
hold on, I may have, motion passes. Let's see here.
Maggie, did
The
you?
commission, so the suggestion was to delay the appointment
Yes.
because Black Mountain and Explore Asheville get to appoint their members first. And Black Mountain did make an
Yes.
appointment, so there's technically not still an opening.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. In other boards and commission council committee business, the February boards and commission council committee meeting will be canceled. So the next meeting will be March 12th. Okay, so that concludes our boards and commission update for today. So I guess when we were saying we were going to move the MSD board, we're going to have to move that appointment to March, right? Because our February meeting is canceled?
No?
Huh? Meeting to be
Could just
canceled?
come back to council directly.
Yeah, it'll just come back to council directly because we won't have a boards and commissions committee
commissions
meeting in
canceled.
February.
Oh. Okay, well, that may be the effect of it then.
Huh? So it'll be March, right? Oh, I guess we don't have to, but.
Unless y'all work it out. then, yes, I think, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we could put it on in February, but we could also wait till March if we
I'm
need
just
to.
gonna, I know that it doesn't have to be a council member that we have, the city has 3 seats on our MSD, but we have so many issues happening with infrastructure in our community. And I would feel better having some more council appointment in addition to gratitude for your service, Mayor. And our previous council members are the other members on the
Other two,
MSD.
yeah.
So when I think about staggering and having long-term council connections, it makes sense to me that we would, if someone's willing and able, which
Yeah.
I appreciate that so many people are willing and able, then I think we should have more council representation there.
I think, and a couple of things on that. One is this board meets a minimum of 1 time a month in person, sometimes as many as 3 times a month in person. There's no virtual option. So whoever wants to do it will, and the attendance is pretty strong. I mean, it's not, it wouldn't work well to be missing, half the meetings or whatever. The other thing is historically, sometimes we've had a staff member serve. And because of the thing that you mentioned around infrastructure, so for example, Kathy Ball used to serve on this board. And right now, for the county, Nate Pennington, their planning director, serves. So like, someone like Ben Woody might actually be appropriate. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because of the, yeah, I think that was awesome.
And yeah,
So I mean, a council member would be great,
Yeah.
someone who ties us into planning, even our planning director, Steph Munzenthal, or whatever. But I did want to just let you know that Nate Pennington does serve, and it's definitely come into play from time to time.
And I would agree with that. I spoke to Kim earlier, and I do understand the need for someone active, on council as we deal with these issues. So, like I said, I agree with both Kim and Esther on this particular item.
Okay, so more on that to come. Okay, council, we are moving along this evening, and we've reached our general public comment. We have a few people signed up to speak under general public comment. You will be invited to the lectern when I call your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Just watch the lights on the lectern. Green means go, and the orange one means you're getting close to the end, and red means stop. I think generally speaking, the public comment goes pretty smoothly here in Asheville, but I will say at our last meeting, we had some speakers who essentially yelled at us, and I have heard from a couple of council members that it can be somewhat triggering and slightly traumatizing because we can't say anything to you and we can't go anywhere, and just being yelled at is sometimes hard. And I don't think you necessarily mean to yell at us because you're really kind of yelling about an issue that's important to you, which I recognize is how some people express themselves. It is also a violation of our rules, however, to yell at us. So if you feel yourself getting there, maybe just try to keep that in check so that we can hear your words and not be, having our heart beat through our chest while you're speaking. So with that, thank you. The first person signed up to speak is Monica Buckley. No Monica Buckley? Okay. Bill Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Bill Robinson. The times that I've come and spoken before this council have mainly been to stand up for the homeless in this city. It hasn't gotten any better. It won't get any better until people start to understand that throwing money at the problem is not the way to solve it. I'm not here to talk about that tonight. The last time I was here, I'm afraid I was one of those people yelling at you all. It was 2 Christmases ago during the water crisis, which had a really serious and terrible effect on minorities, low-income people, and the elderly. That didn't work out very well, but everybody was on top of it and did the best they could. I'm here to talk about crime right now, and this is another issue I feel like yelling about, but I won't. Obviously, this crime problem in Asheville is serious and ongoing, getting worse all the time. In contrast to the mendacious disinformation put out that the crime problem here is getting better, it is not. I live in a small apartment complex, mostly for low income, mostly for HUD subsidized, mostly for the elderly and disabled in South Asheville. And last week we had 9 cars in the middle of the night, windows smashed, ransacked, people had their belongings stolen. I know that doesn't sound very serious, but it's a quality of life crime, and it's just one indication of a personal experience that I have with the crime. Perhaps the best place you can find a real quick and good experience of what the crime is like in Asheville is on Nextdoor, an online community service, and you can really put your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your city. There are regular reports of late-night gunshots in quiet, residential neighborhoods, and the police don't respond. When the management of my apartment complex approached the Asheville police, they were told there was nothing they could do, they were understaffed. This is unacceptable. I'm not yelling, I'm just making a point. This is unacceptable. The primary role, and the generally acknowledged role of government, from whether it's federal, state, county, or this city, Asheville, is to protect its citizens. And if you can't do that, all the new equity and inclusion directors, all the repatriation commissions, none of that matters. That's all rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. So we have to get the police department together again. All the officers have fled. What's remaining is the bottom of the barrel. It's going to be hard to recruit new police officers to a city that took a knee to the riots in 2020. So the best thing that you could do is issue a public apology for defunding the police.
The next person signed up to speak is Paul Paddock.
I have not yelled since I got married 34 years ago. I want to thank the council, the mayor, city manager for your time. On December 5th, I wrote all of you a letter with probably about 10 photographs pertaining primarily to the Rankin parking. I could say a lot, but that's really the issue. I just would like to have your feedback and see where we might be.
Can you do me a favor, sir, and give your name to Rachel or Ben, who are saying there are 2 assistant city managers, and make sure we've got some way to follow up with you?
Of course, it's also on my letterhead, but I'll be more than happy to do that.
Or give them a copy, so.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm making sure we've got that. The next person signed up to speak is Paul Lida.
Ladies, I think we need a little levity. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Forgive me, I've had throat cancer, and sometimes my vocal cords just close up. And so if you can't understand me, then ask me a question. I'm a son of Asheville. I was born 77 years ago, right on the hill, on the corner in Mission Hospital. Do you all know where that building is? It's right over there. Well, I've been a teacher. My wife and I was 42 years as a teacher. I've taught everything. My wife, 43 years. Now, what's the problem? We got a problem. I want to say first, I appreciate every one of you and the work you do and the time you spend to help Asheville be a wonderful place to live. I'm going to take my hat off to you and the work you do. Now, what's our problem? Mr. Robinson already expressed it. My wife and I live in Givens, not Given Estates now. There's a big difference. We live in Givens, Gerber Park. A week ago, last week, we had 8 cars vandalized with windows broken out to gain access. They're very smart in what they're doing because they know if they break out a window, they can reach through and the alarm won't go off on the newer cars. Now, fortunately, my daughter had borrowed my car, and is my time up?
It is, I'm sorry. You are welcome to come back anytime. We'd like to.
I just said, we're not safe.
Yes.
Please help us. We're just not safe. And I know there's a lot y'all can do to help us. It doesn't require a lot of money, maybe a private security company to help us, but we just don't feel safe over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lytle. Thank you. I'm sorry you had that experience, and I know our police department's working hard to crack the case on all of the, no pun intended, on all the broken windows. I didn't mean to say it. But. Okay, the next person signed up to speak is Nicole Lopez.
Hello, thank you, Council. I'm here today to support the ceasefire resolution before you all. Just wanted to give a little bit of why I am supporting that. Over 23,000 people in Gaza have been slain by Israeli bombs, and those are conservative estimates with thousands of people trapped under rubble. Nearly 60,000 people have been injured. According to Save the Children, 10 children per day have had one or more limbs amputated, most of them without anesthesia because of the blockade of supplies. A humanitarian crisis is already in effect and continuing to escalate, and I'm incensed that my tax dollars go to this. And at the city level, I know that we don't we aren't, affecting national policy, but I know that every single thing that we are doing counts. And I think that it would be wonderful if our city could take a stand against a genocide. I don't see how mass murdering civilians makes anybody safer. I don't see how that could make, even if we're not thinking about Palestinian lives, I don't see how that sowing seeds of U.S. bombs dropping on civilian population. That's not, it's, aside from being vastly unethical, it's not going to make the U.S. safer. It's certainly not going to make Israel safer. And I really don't want to see this escalate into a regional war, which is, if we continue down this path, that is what this appears to be. I was born and raised here in Asheville, North Carolina. I went to A.C. Reynolds High School, and I was an Arabic major in college, and I lived in Amman, Jordan for a year. And I have visited Palestine. I've been to the West Bank, and I did not fully comprehend the scale of U.S. support and how the U.S. really upholds a vast system of oppression. Palestinians, just like Israelis, deserve to live with basic human rights and with basic dignity and self-determination. And I think we in Asheville, North Carolina, our small mountain town, could still, not city, we're a city, yeah. But I think that we could take a stand against this. So that is why I'm here. Please take a stand against genocide and against escalating famine and disease and against a increasing refugee crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Duncan?
Good. Can everyone hear? Thank you. My name is Keith Brent Duncan. We're owners of a corporation that's very unique, and we're coming to Asheville. We're bringing a $40 billion group of non-government organizations to literally have Asheville be the center of what they call a reformation revolution, of using technology and education that we had developed in 1976 to actually stabilize the economy so that everyone benefits. So we're asking, this is a very brief request, that we have additional face-to-face meetings. We've already been meeting with Clark Duncan. We've been meeting with people all over the Southeast for many years, and it's all based upon technology and funding and supporting the efforts of the existing leaders to actually do things right the first time. And the bottom line is we have a voting system called eVote.1 that's going to benefit everyone in the world. So we'll no longer have people at the very top of the society causing problems. So at this point, in about probably 4 years, we'll have no poverty, no drug addiction, none of these basic fundamental issues. So we're the one group that are providing funding, technology, and education to literally stabilize the economy from now going forward. So my name again is Keith Brent Duncan. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Celestial Pennington?
Hello there. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm also here to support the resolution for calling for a ceasefire. And I know it might feel almost like a drop in the bucket to be a small town when there's so much that needs to be done to stand up and put a bit of a target on your back. But you know, when I was doing my research, actually going to vote for some of you actually, I was so impressed by how many of you talked about justice when it was difficult. And I know that politically right now, it's hard to be at the forefront in the South calling for what is right and what is just. But I think that Asheville has been at the front of that sort of justice. And I think that it is a difficult position to be in, but I think that this council specifically can add our voice and add to this growing tide of recognition and understanding. And I know it's scary to stand up because nobody wants to be accused of anti-Semitism when you're saying that a government is doing something bad. But this is really the only government that I can think of that when you say that they're doing something bad, that you can sometimes be misinterpreted as standing up against a full group of people. But if we look at right now what's going on in the international criminal courts with this South African case of genocide, there is a likelihood that they could be found officially responsible for a genocide. And it would be wonderful for Asheville to be one of those cities that stood up when it was difficult to say that 11,000 children should not be dead right now, that we should not be standing silent while there is a government that is halting aid trucks, and if they find one thing in those aid trucks, sometimes they're putting tents in the aid trucks because we're looking at so many houses that have been destroyed, and they say, oh no, these tent poles could be used for weapons. They make the entire aid truck go back, get unpacked, start it over again. People are starving. There are more people starving than not. People are drinking seawater to try and survive. This is such a significant loss of life to stand by and be silent. It is not really an option. And I know that you specifically, that Asheville specifically, has been such a beacon of hope to do the right thing, to speak up for the people who cannot speak. This conflict has actually been the most dangerous conflict for journalists in history. We are finding credible reports that journalists have been targeted. We are finding credible reports that there has been torture going on with detainees. We have had hostages who came out with, Israeli hostages who came out with white flags. Okay, my last thing, and they were shot. So this is not helping the hostages.
Thank you.
This is not making them safe.
Courtney Roche?
I'd like to present this.
If you give it to Maggie, she'll hand
The ceasefire resolution. Hi, my name is Courtney Roche, and I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation and a 10-year resident of Asheville. A month ago, myself and some 20 other community members addressed this council, demanding a vote on a resolution for a ceasefire, peace, and international law. I have presented to you again this document, and also in that month, the PSL, community members, anti-war organizations, Palestinian, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, people from all walks of life have been out in the streets saying no to business as usual, no Christmas, no New Year's, no shopping while bombs are dropping, while a genocide takes place, a genocide with the full backing of our government, of the US government. Bombs and bullets paid for with our tax dollars to kill civilians, men, women, and children, your tax dollars, actually. You are all in the position, however small you may think, to make clear that Asheville and its citizens stand in full solidarity with Palestinian people who are being slaughtered and ethnically cleansed by Israel with US weapons, some of which now will be and are maybe currently manufactured in our backyard at Pratt & Whitney. That we do not agree with the illegal passing of a bill without congressional approval by the Biden administration to fund more weapons just a few weeks ago that will kill, maim, and starve the other 2 million Palestinians still alive, doctors, journalists, teachers, and to erase Gaza and snuff out any form of resistance. For you all to sit idly by and not use your position to say ceasefire now, not one more dime for genocide, is a crime in and of itself. Your silence will be heard in the depths of history over the screams and cries of the thousands being murdered. We demand you vote on a resolution for a ceasefire presented here and stand with other cities such as Greensboro and Carrboro and be on the right side of history. Genocide is a crime, and to connect it even to the local issues that other people have brought up earlier today. When we don't put money towards the needs of people, towards housing, education, food, and safety, we see people on the streets. I have to go to work every day and I walk over people sleeping on the streets, not because, it's because they couldn't afford rent. It's because they didn't do anything wrong besides be poor. And we can't let tax dollars that could be used to fund housing and house people and give them opportunities, and instead that money goes to kill children. So stand on the right side of history, vote on a resolution for a ceasefire now, and free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Wainscott?
What are you laughing at? Hey, my name is Jonathan Wainscott, and I came here to talk about Newton Shepherd. This is from the ribbon cutting ceremony, I guess, for the Black Cultural Heritage Trail that we just put here in Asheville, and I was pretty excited about it because this is the first place that celebrates Newton Shepherd's service here in Asheville. It even says this on the marker. It says, this marker is the first to celebrate Shepherd's achievement. And what I'd like to point out a few things here, though. It says that the service was in 1892 and in 1893, but it's actually 1882 and 1883. And in addition to that, there are a couple things that are said on the sign and on the website. It says Newton Shepherd became the first black person to win an election in Asheville in 1882, and that's incorrect. And in 1883, newspapers reported that voters reelected Shepherd to a second 12-month term, and that's also incorrect because the receipts are right down the hall, courtesy of Maggie Burleson, our vault master, who has let me in there, and I brought these minutes. Yeah, I did. And so anyway, this is from May 3rd, 1881. This is when the new board was sworn into office that year. A.T. Summy was the mayor, and Newton Shepherd was commissioner. And again, on May 2nd, 1882, this is when V.S. Lusk first was mayor. Newton Shepherd was elected to his second term. And in 1883, Newton Shepherd was elected to his third term here in Asheville as a commissioner on the Board of Aldermen. And in addition to that, we've got Maggie, who's the foster of the roster. This is the roster of elected officials that Maggie maintains. And you can see here, 1881, A.T. Summy reelected mayor, Newton Shepherd commissioners, 1882, V.S. Lusk mayor, Newton Shepherd to the commissioners, and in 1883, again, Newton Shepherd won. So he was kind of shorted out on our sign on the trail. So 1883 is the year that Asheville was incorporated as a city here in the state of North Carolina. Therefore, Newton Shepherd can be considered a founding commissioner for the City of Asheville Board of Aldermen in 1883. So I'd like hopefully to see these corrections made. The sign on the website, and it makes me wonder if we've actually accounted for all of the black elected officials in the first place, if we've overlooked this one individual's service to begin with. I mean, who's to say that there aren't others? But anyway, happy 2024. I'm sorry that I ever yelled at you in the past, and I'll try not to do it ever again, but I can't necessarily promise that.
Well, I hope you let them know about this correction, and my name was spelled wrong on the plaque at the new firehouse, so we continue in our strong tradition of some typos. Can't win them all. Okay, Yasmin Dajani, you'll tell me if I pronounce that incorrectly. I left out the H.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yasmin, and I'm here today to talk about the ceasefire resolution. As a Palestinian, I'm appalled by the genocide currently unfolding. Over 30,000 Palestinians, more than 11,800 of which are children, have been massacred in Israel's genocide. I think about children's shattered dreams. I think about the mothers holding their loved ones' corpses that will never come back. I think about the agony of Palestinians losing their limbs. I'm here today to urge you to demand a ceasefire. US tax dollars are funding this genocide, bombing hospitals, schools, churches, mosques, refugee camps, in addition to cutting off food, water, and electricity, are all war crimes under international law. These atrocities have absolutely no justification against anyone. The racism and double standards could not be more apparent. Your silence is deafening. Never again means never again.
Jared Wheatley.
Good evening, council and mayor. Appreciate you taking the time to hear us all out this evening. What I've come not as planning and zoning or anything, just regular old citizen here. What I wanted to speak about a little bit is anti-displacement and the missing middle housing study. I sat in on the pre-meeting agenda review for this meeting and really appreciated council focusing on anti-displacement. What I thought was kind of interesting about the conversation was that it needed to be brought up at all, in the sense that fundamental to the missing middle housing study and housing production supply is anti-displacement. So just working towards housing production is an anti-displacement strategy. And that may seem overly simplified, but when I moved here as a recent vet in 2009, the bank and the lenders that be sought fit to give me a subprime mortgage, pre-approved at $165,000. That was awesome because what it allowed me to do was look for housing in West Asheville, like along Michigan Avenue and along South French Broad, where I had real estate agents who probably weren't supposed to tell me this, but were basically like, those are high crime areas, they may not be your people around there, that sort of thing, which led me to buy a home in Candler, which is cool. That house still serves my family very well, but I do not own a home in Asheville. And I guess the moral of the story is, if you look at housing lots in Shiloh now, just a quarter-acre lot's going to run you about $150,000. A condo in Shiloh is going to cost you $300,000. A single-family home, less than 1,000 square feet, can be got for $300,000. Easton Valley neighborhood's going to cost you at least $500,000 to get into. South French Broad, $600,000 to get into. And in Oakley, you can get sub 1,000 square foot homes for $300,000. Otherwise, you're going to be looking in the mid 500,000s. So anti-displacement really is about allowing people an opportunity to live in spaces. It's about increasing density to give people different types of housing options, which include, smaller homes than maybe what you would want, or smaller yards maybe than what you would want if you had an affluent, wealthy family supporting you. Could look like a duplex or a townhome. And so, thank you so much.
Thank you. Monica Buckley.
Hello, thank you, council members and every support staff. I'm here to address the demands for the referendum of an Israeli ceasefire. I have questions. Where are Palestine's Jews? Where are Palestine's Christians? Where are Lebanon's Jews? Where are Syria's Jews? Where are Yemen's Jews? Iran's, Armenia's, Afghanistan's? They are murdered. If they survived the genocide of all of these countries, they were displaced and sought refuge in Israel. Last month, someone stood before you and preached in the matter of Kimberly Guilfoyle and the Führer himself shouting about Israel. It was an emotional and hateful outburst that offered no facts, only platitudes and an opining on a wildly misinformed viewpoint. She told you that the death toll is something that hasn't been seen since the Holocaust. This is a blatant lie. These people do not care about children. I hear nothing about the children in Yemen, Sudan, Syria, ad infinitum, who are killed and starved by radical Muslim terrorists every single day. Almost 500,000 people in Yemen alone. They care about putting Jews in their place. Every Middle Eastern country is a totalitarian, violent regime that mistreats its own citizens, including Palestine, who use their children to hide behind while they commit atrocities, except for Israel. Let's not be mass gang rape apologists, Asheville. Let's not demand that Jews stick their necks out for execution so that some white Americans can feel like they've done something with their lives. Palestine is under bombardment because they started a war that they promised to continue by ending a ceasefire with the clear intent to commit genocide of the Israeli people. A call for an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire is, in fact, a call for the genocide against Israelis, including the 2 million Arab Muslims that live there. The absolute lie that this is about white versus non-white people is a joke. Of the 80% of Israelis that are Jews, 75% of them are Arab. Another 9% are African and Asian, and only 20% of Israel's Jewish population is European. White colonizers, huh? Israel is the only country in the world that has successfully decolonized its white European colonizers as well as its Muslim colonizers. Judea and the Jews existed in Israel way before Muhammad and way before he went on to conquer and murder hundreds of communities himself. The Jews have never done such a thing, and they aren't starting now. Israel is a speck, 8,000 square miles in an ocean of 11 million square miles of Muslim countries. On October 7th, the world watched as Palestine invaded Israel and committed violent planned mass gang rape, dismembering of Jewish bodies, torture of children forced to watch their parents burned alive and vice versa, as well as the kidnapping and taking of hundreds of hostages, including many Americans. Where is your referendum on this atrocious violence, Asheville? Where is the I in your DEI department, Asheville? And where are your Jews? They are not here because they are afraid.
Thank you. Gabrielle Nassar.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Nassar. I'm also a Palestinian American. I'm part of the Asheville community. I've been here for about 6 or 7 years. And I want to also urge support for this ceasefire resolution, being that a ceasefire prevents the loss of life on both sides. I also realize that our city has no sway in national and especially international affairs on this matter, but I feel it's up to all of us to do everything that we can do to fight this. And as you already know, South Africa has already brought charges of genocide against Israel to the International Court of Justice. And that case is pretty much open and shut. They've laid out the international law regarding what constitutes a genocide. This is international law that all parties involved have agreed to. This is all not to mention the history of Israel's crimes against humanity, including the mass incarceration of Palestinians with no charges, no court date, no release date. This includes Israel's illegal settlements in the West Bank that are not recognized by international law. This includes the illegal siege Israel has had on Gaza for over decades, meaning they've controlled how much food, water, and everything else can go in and out of Gaza, as well as who can leave, which is why a lot of human rights organizations around the world refer to it as the largest open-air prison. People are not allowed to leave, and their water sources are controlled by Israel. Now, a term that South Africa uses throughout these charges, often expressing why they feel morally obligated to bring these charges, is erga omnes, which means in relation to everyone. It's a term recognized by the UN as valid grounds for why a party with no direct connection to a genocide can bring charges against those committing it. And the idea is that if we as human beings can stand by while such heinous atrocities are committed against our fellow humans, then we are accepting a world in which those same atrocities can be justified against anyone, and that is unacceptable. I also want to mention that when it comes time for Israel to be held accountable for this genocide, so too will all complicit parties, and that includes the U.S. after Biden just sent millions more dollars worth of bonds to Israel a couple weeks ago that will be dropped indiscriminately on civilians. It's clear in the eyes of the entire world, if you saw the last ceasefire vote that took place at the UN, that our federal government is on the wrong side of history. Not that that's anything new, but regardless of the lack of political sway of our regional city governments here, I think it could be a powerful symbolic message that the federal government of the U.S. does not represent the people of the U.S. In this disgusting genocide. Thank you.
And Viesna Mao?
Hello, this is my first time doing this. Speaking voice, awesome, great. In his 1991 memoir, Close to the Knives, David Wojnarowicz was a gay activist during the AIDS epidemic. He said in his memoir what it would be like if each time a lover, friend, or stranger died of this disease, their friends, lovers, or neighbors would take the dead body and drive with it in a car 100 miles an hour to Washington, D.C., and blast through the gates of the White House and come to a screeching halt before the entrance and dump their lifeless form on the front steps. It's hard to rationalize the figures and statistics that come at you. 21,000 Palestinians dead. To ignore is a natural defense against uncomfort, but that is avoidant coping and far from productive. I understand that you guys as officials from high on up are supposed to make decisions relevant to the citizens of Asheville. And you may be asking this: what does a conflict, or maybe if you're more astute, a genocide occurring across the sea have to do with the decisions that I make for Asheville? It has everything to do with it. Notice the disparity between the benefits that Israel receives from America and what is happening in your backyard. I see these council meetings that you have, and as naive as I am, I wonder what kind of funds can be allocated to the issues we talk about within the city. Your black neighbors are getting displaced. The homeless are freezing to death along the French Broad. We have the infrastructure of a third world country, and we prioritize the gentrification of poor neighborhoods in the name of tourism to generate the income we can't generate otherwise. I'm not sure I'm naive again, just some assumptions. And yet we still manage to fund the functioning of the war machine, putting blood on our hands. We are all complicit. They gaslight us into believing there is sound reasoning behind the murder of 22,835 Palestinians, a figure I saw in The Guardian posted yesterday. They commit war crimes unchecked. They disrespect the very laws of the Geneva Convention established to prevent a genocide from happening and claim victim. They bomb not only Palestine, but also Lebanon and Syria, and still claim victim. They blow up the roads which would allow humanitarian aid to come in and provide food for the Palestinians. They decline to make it a law to have soldiers shoot unarmed citizens, or they decline to make it a law against to make it not legal for soldiers to shoot unarmed citizens, which is kind of something you need to register, because why would you not make that a law?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
That concludes our public comment for this evening. So, council, we are adjourned. I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
if I could just add one thing. I need to clear up something. I made a mistake when I was introducing Chris Cairns. I said that he was going to be a traffic engineer, but he actually will be serving as the interim city engineer. So I apologize to Chris and apologize to you all for that mistake.
It doesn't take away from the celebratory moment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, we are concluded.